So who remembers what we talked about last week? The fullness of what?
Are you talking about last Sunday?
Yes, last Sunday.
Good, yeah, good.
God's
Right,
goodness.
a great Google
Yes.
definition.
Some of you weren't here, and that's fine, but we talked
Good.
about goodness. So,
Quality of being
Oh,
good.
yeah, I remember.
remember, yeah.
The one
So-
time Google has failed me.
If you look at our Fruit of the Spirit lineup up here, you see the 9 fruits. The ones in blue are the ones that we have talked about already, and the one we're talking about today. And the ones in black are the fruits that we haven't quite gone to yet. So love, faithfulness, gentleness, round up. But we're now going to be 6 out of 9. We're 2/3 of the way through after this session. So we started off, I believe we did joy, then we did self-control, then patience, kindness, goodness in sequence, which was cool. Now we're going back up to peace. That's where we're camping out today. Thanks again to Gabe for the suggestion. So, as we always do, we start with our Google definition, which thankfully this go around not quite as embarrassing as last week. Not so obvious. So what does Google say? Google representing the world.
Google.
That wasn't funny because we're not
It
talking.
actually uses a good word. Freedom.
Freedom.
As far as the rest of the definition, up for debate. From disturbance or the cessation. Anyone know what that word means?
I don't.
Sensation.
Ceasing.
Oh.
Cessation.
The stop.
Cessation.
The
War.
ceasing of.
Slash violence. So staying with our baseball analogy from last week, let's examine peace in the fruit of the lineup. As you can see, where is peace batting here? In the 3 spot. In baseball, the third hitter traditionally is the best all-around hitter on the team. He often hits for a high average. He gets on base more often than anyone else. But he's not necessarily as fast, not as speedy as the first 2 batters. Part of his job is to reach base for the cleanup hitter, which, remember we talked about with patience? Your 4th spot is patience. His role is to drive the others home. However, when the third batter, he sets up the cleanup hitter and helps drive in base runners himself. So, among baseball managers and fans and whatnot, third place hitters are best known for keeping the inning alive. That's their designation. They keep the inning alive, and in recent years, some managers have tended to put their best slugger in this position as well. So a little bit of a combo platter with speed and power. Now, applied to peace, we find some similarities in the sense that peace, compared to love and joy, as well as the other fruit, peace really keeps our spiritual fruit alive. And it allows our fruit to be more kinesthetic. Everyone know what that word means? Yes, Gabe.
Like feeling?
Yeah, able to be felt in motion, or at least in a position to be in motion.
Do you mean kinesthetic or kinetic?
I might have meant kinetic.
I was about to say.
Yeah.
Whoops.
Kinetic.
That is my fault then.
Kinetic.
Whoops.
I didn't even get that.
That is a typo with me. I was thinking kinetic, but I wrote out kinesthetic. So, peace. There's a lot to say about it. Some of you know that it's not so much an instant decision as much as a gradual process. You can choose to be at peace, but a lot of times it just takes time since it involves relationship. Yet, when it's embraced, when you embrace peace, you're setting the stage, maybe not so much with everyone, but as far as it be with you, the stage is being set for relationship as God intended. And we're going to drill down on that more in a second. Remember, God created the world for peace. And like we said last week, he called it what?
Good.
He called it good. But he created the world for peace. And when man rebelled, it was the Prince of Peace who became flesh to become the ultimate sacrifice, to atone for our sin and restore, as the angels in Luke declared, peace on earth. Think of it this way. Peace is security for our sanctification. If you don't know what some of these words mean, it's okay, we're going to unpack it. It's harmony without condition. It's tranquility for in Christ refreshment. It's prosperity for his glory. God blessing you, blessing us, but so that his name will be made great. And it's a purifier of fruit, as it says in Isaiah 52. We're going to get there. We're going to soak in Isaiah 52, actually. If you don't think peace is a big deal, consider this. In the King James, it is mentioned in the Bible 429 times.
Woo.
But it also includes false forms of peace, not just peace like the good kind, but the inner peace, peace with God, with man, but also false peace. Still, it's worth asking, how do we live in the fullness of peace in a restless, divisive world? So, as we always do, we're going to look at Greek and Hebrew. Got a special video coming up. The Greek word in peace, I like this, irene, refers to rest and tranquility. The key focus of peace in the New Testament is the advent of Jesus Christ, his coming as announced by the angels again in Luke 2. Peace on earth. Isaiah had predicted the Messiah would be the Prince of Peace. And he's also called the Lord of Peace in 2 Thessalonians, and as that letter's being wrapped up in chapter 3. So all that to say, it is through Christ's work of justification, which is, for those who don't know what justification means, it's the cross, God making us and declaring us righteous before God. Sanctification is actually an ongoing process that we experience together as we become more like him. So think of sanctification as more ongoing and constantly happening. Justification was, I took your sin away and I atoned for your sins. That's justification. So in short, the Greek kind of captures the one-on-one justification with Christ, his work in you. But as we look at the other side, the Hebrew, which you guys should know what peace in Hebrew is.
No.
You don't know? Yes, shalom. You know shalom. We're actually going to watch it. Yes. We're going to, let me write it, then I'm going to show a quick vid on this. Shalom. All right.
Did you know that the Hebrew language is actually 3 languages? Did you know that the original Hebrew, the same Hebrew that Moses used to scribe the Torah, was both a pictographic and a numeric language? Has God given us a prophetic clue, a peek into the future hidden in the 4 Hebrew letters Shin, Lamed, Vav, and Mem, the 4 letters that spell Shalom? And is that clue, hidden in plain sight, embedded from the very beginning in the pictures and numbers that are the very foundational elements of the Hebrew language? Let's take a look at the picture meaning of shalom. Shin is the first letter in the Hebrew word shalom. Shin is a picture of teeth, teeth that crush and destroy. Lamed is the picture of a shepherd's staff. Vav is the picture of an iron nail or a wooden hook. Mem, the last Hebrew letter in the Hebrew word shalom, is pictured as waters. Waters of life is pictured by a clear running stream, or waters of chaos and confusion, as pictured by a flood or tsunami. In the conventional Hebrew, shalom can mean anything from not being at war, the cessation of hostility, to harmony between people. Shalom can also mean security and freedom from violence. Shalom can communicate the idea of serenity and tranquility. Now let's discover the distilled, ideal picture meaning of shalom. Shin means to destroy. Lamed is the voice of authority. Vav signifies 2 things that are connected. Mem can mean chaos and confusion. The revelation hidden in the picture language of Hebrew informs us that peace or shalom only comes when the authority connected with chaos and confusion is destroyed. Every time you say the word shalom or peace, you are uttering a prophetic prayer that someone will come and destroy the one who is causing all the chaos and confusion. And who is that someone? Who is coming to bring true shalom? The Prince of Peace is coming. Are you ready for true shalom?
I thought that was fascinating and makes me really want to learn Hebrew more. Because when we address Hebrew, even in this time, it's still a little bit one-dimensional. And as we mentioned, there's 3 languages in one there when we talk about Hebrew. But shalom is the big one. And as a lot of you have learned at least in one point, it refers to relationship between people in 3 words or less. It's corporate togetherness, koinonia, community. Again, relationship not only with people, but nations, God with men. As you can imagine, shalom is a desired status. When we talk about what type of relationships do we want to have with people, we want relationships with people marked by shalom, right? Who wouldn't want that? The reality of life is this, a seemingly endless strife to obtain that, to achieve that, to at least be in the midst of shalom. Peace is a desired status in each of those arenas, and shalom is often tied to a covenant or a promise that's being kept, God being the ultimate promise keeper. Psalm 41:9 refers to this, a friend of my peace. So shalom You find shalom often in if you're sitting here, you know what it's like to have a close friend. If you do, then you have shalom with that person. Take Rachel and Eliana, for example. There's shalom there.
They don't always have shalom.
And the reason why,
Is that a challenge?
Rachel,
Especially
would you consider Eliana a trusted companion?
Rachel.
If yes, is Eliana a trusted companion?
She a what companion?
A trusted.
Most of the time.
Okay.
But look, that right there is actually indicative of
Yes.
the fact that there is shalom.
Yep.
Because you feel like you are in a safe enough place that you can be honest.
Yep.
You didn't just go, yeah.
I trust her.
Sure. Inside you.
Yeah. What's also cool about shalom is that it's also a greeting. You don't come up and say hello. You know, you come up and say shalom. So that's why when I made the joke just now, made it an Adele reference.
Now, ding.
Get it? Yeah. Shalom. It's hello, basically, but it's also a declaration into the type of relationship you want to have with that person. So it's like, imagine, Landon, I didn't know you, and I'm like, shalom, amigo, or whatever.
I mean, wow.
We'll just say shalom. Or shalom.
Mixing up two different consonant languages.
Hey, because we're all about.
What if I was a Hispanic wanting to learn more about Hebrew? What then? But I'm also declaring and prophesying the type of relationship I want to have with you, which I think is really cool about that culture. Shalom reminds us that peace is directly related to the actions and attitudes within relationship that we desire, but we can't forget that even shalom, it's a gift from God at the end of the day. It's a blessing on man's obedience and faith. So let's now pause and we're making good time. Let's soak in these passages for the next, let's do 8 minutes. It's 11:17. We'll come back at 11:25. Ultimately, God commands us to seek peace, to make every effort to do what leads to peace. That comes from Romans 14. And there will be people out there who do not desire peace. Obviously, you watch the news, you read the newspapers, maybe not newspapers anymore, but you read the articles online. There are wars and interpersonal conflicts, shootings in Vegas. There's a lot of tension in the world today. And there's going to continue to be that until Jesus comes again and establishes that true lasting peace that Isaiah 11 talks about. Basically, we should all just do a book study on Isaiah, because Isaiah is loaded on this stuff. But until that happens, how awesome is it that God has blessed us and covered us with this peace to those who trust him? And trust begets more peace, which is a cool thing when you look at it that way. So that's why, in light of chaos, and like the video was talking about, one of the reasons why I liked it, in light of those moments where you feel like you're drowning in confusion and chaos, or the world around you is drowning in confusion or chaos, there's always peace to be found, and that is an awesome, enriching reality.
In the world you will have trouble, but I have overcome the world.
Yeah. Believing that is peace in every moment you walk. So I encourage you guys, let the peace rule in your heart, and then be intentional in sharing that with others. Don't just be content, okay, I have good friends and we're cool and everything is great. Yeah, peace on earth. I got peace on earth. There's nothing wrong in having, again, shalom with friends, but remember the full dimension, the full components to peace. Just like the rest of the fruit, it's meant to be shown to make the Lord's name great. So whether you're struggling in peace or thriving in peace, I encourage you, as long as we have breath, there's going to be new avenues of peace to be found. So why not seek it together? Why not have shalom as we pursue deeper shalom?